person showing up is going to bring us to a quorum. Oh, there we go. So we're solid. We're over 50% at this point.
You're live
Debbie,
on YouTube.
Debbie comes to the rescue.
Good morning, all.
All right. So good morning, everybody. It is 9:30. I'm going to give about one more minute just to let folks come on in because we got some voting to do this morning. All right, well, we can get started. I will call this meeting to order at 9:31 a.m. on November 13th of 25. Good morning, members of the Professional Standards for Teacher Education Board. My name is Jason Keys. I know most of you, but for those of you who don't know me, I do work for Kelly Meadows at the Maryland State Department of Education as the Director of Educator Preparation and Development. And it is my pleasure to be filling in for her today on the board while she has um, other engagements that have taken her away from us today. So happy to be here, especially because the first order of business today is for us to do our annual elections for both chair and vice chair of the board. Um, I'm going to walk you through kind of the order of operations today, so it's just a nice, smooth process. I know a lot of us have been through these elections before, but just to be quite frank, I don't know who was here and wasn't here last year, who may have forgotten. So just to level set, right? I just want to make sure we're all on the same page. And so what's going to happen is, at first, I'm going to open up the floor for nominations for the position of chair. And by the way, I've already talked to Sean about this. I'm going to walk you through the order of operations, and Sean, please jump in if I say anything that is, that's not keeping us on the straight and narrow here, right? But I think we're going to be good. So I'll open up the floor for nominations for chair to start. And anybody on the board can nominate somebody on the board for chair. And so if you nominate somebody, I will then ask that individual, do you accept the nomination? And they will say yes or no, which is great. Um, and then I will say, okay, are there any more nominations for the position of chair? And we will repeat that process until the nominations are done. If there is only one nomination and it's kind of an uncontested race, so to speak, we will just do a straight up and down vote, show of hands, or you can use your hand signal in Zoom. And I will ask, who is for, any opposed, and any abstentions, and we will just roll with that. If there are multiple people nominated for a position, we will go to a virtual ballot. I will post it both in chat and I will email it to you as well. You only fill it out once. You have to put your name in, so don't worry about duplicates. Both Sean and I will be able to see if they're duplicates, so not a big deal. And then we will announce who wins that. Sandy, your hand is up.
I would like to nominate Darren Hornbeck
Well,
as chair.
hold on. I'm not
Okay.
quite there yet. I want to walk through the whole. I'm going to walk through the
Okay.
whole order of operations first. So thanks. Um, so after we elect a chair, at that point, officially, we have a chair for this board meeting, and I don't need to be facilitating it any further. However, the first thing we do after we announce who the newly elected chair is I'm going to ask at the pleasure of the chair if I can continue with these elections so that we can immediately go into electing our vice chair. Right. And I'm assuming that our newly elected chair is going to say, yes, please proceed with that. And that's exactly what we're going to do. And we're going to repeat this process again for the vice chair. The nominees have to get a majority of the votes. The people have to be present at this meeting to vote. So if we have board members who aren't here today, they can't vote. So if they receive this ballot by email, but they happen to not be here, their vote will not count. So it's only the people that are here that are going to count for their votes. We cannot have a tie. So if we, like last year, we had a tie and we had to vote again. So we will keep voting and voting and voting until that tie is broken. And we ultimately end up with a chair and a vice chair. And at that point, full control of this board meeting will be turned back over to the chair and we will proceed as normal. Sean, is there anything I'm missing there? Okay.
Nope, you got it right.
Perfect. So any questions on the process at this point? Awesome. So I feel like Sandy's going to speak up, but I'm still going to officially open up the floor for nominations for the position of chair.
Sorry about that, my timing. I would like to nominate Darren Hornbeck for chair.
All right, Darren Hornbeck, you are nominated for the position of chair. Do you accept the nomination?
I do, thank you.
Okay. Do I hear any other nominations for the position of chair? All right, 5-second warning. All right, nothing heard. So with a show of hands, either your own hand or a virtual hand, all in favor of Darren serving as the duly elected chair of the Professional Standards and Teacher Education Board, please raise your hand. Okay. And can you keep your hand up? I'm sorry, I just want to make sure I'm counting. So if you did a not a virtual hand, please keep it up. Okay, thank you so much. You can please all put your hands down. Any opposed? I just want to make sure. Okay. Any abstentions? All right. Well, with that, congratulations once more to our chair, Mr. Darren Hornbeck. Congratulations. And if it pleases the chair, I would like to continue with the vice chair nominations at this time.
Absolutely. Please go ahead.
Thank you so much, sir. All right, so let's do this once more. I'm opening the floor now for nominations for the position of vice chair of the Professional Standards for Teacher Education Board. Yes, Debbie. And I think, yeah, there you go.
Hi, it's only been, 12 years since we did this virtually. I would like to nominate, Dr. Ebony Terrell-Shockley for vice chair.
All right, thank you so much. And Dr. Shockley, do you accept the nomination?
Yes.
Thank you so much. All right, do we have any other nominations for the position of vice chair? All right, 5-second warning on this one. Okay, great. So no other nominations heard. So once more, we'll do a straight up and down vote. Thank you all so much for making this so easy for me as the fill-in guy today. I really appreciate this. So once more, all in favor of Ebony serving at Dr. Shockley serving as the duly elected vice chair of the Professional Standards Board, please raise your hand virtually or in person. Awesome. That is great. Thank you. And everyone, please put your hands down. Are there any against? Any objections? And Dr. Woodward, your hand is still up. I just want to make sure that's not a holdover. Okay, I'm just making sure, as we annotate this. Okay, great. And then any abstentions? Perfect. Well, congratulations, Dr. Shockley, once more for being our vice chair. So with that, thank you so much for allowing me to open this for everybody, and I will turn control back over to our chair. Thank you very much.
All right. Well, thank you so much. And thanks, Jason. That was a great job and very fast, too. You could just continue the meeting if you wanted to. You're doing a fantastic job, better than I do, I think. So I appreciate that. Hang on and don't leave. All right. So the next thing, and by the way, thank you so much. I appreciate the vote of confidence, and I'll do my best to serve you all well and serve this board well. And Ebony, did you have anything you wanted to say?
Yes, I'm so grateful for your trust for this board. I will continue to do my best to advocate for each of you to the best of my ability. So thank you so much, everybody.
All right, so let's move right on. The next thing on our agenda is public comment, but I don't see that we had anybody sign in for public comment. Is that correct, Dr. Keys?
Correct, sir. Sorry, I was muted. Yeah.
Nope, that's fine. All right, so then the next thing is our state board update, and I believe there was a communication that was sent out previous to that. And if you want to pull that up, you can. It looks like that. So let's see who is taking us through that. So Hannah, is Hannah on? I don't see her. All right, well, if she comes on a little bit later, we can always come back to that. But you did get a memo that looks like this. It's got lots of hyperlinks in it and so forth from the October meeting. And by the way, the reason we canceled the October meeting largely was because the only thing that we had pressing on the agenda was the election. So we thought it was a little bit frivolous to interrupt everybody's schedule and bring everyone together just for what would amount to about a 10-minute meeting. So that's why we rolled it over into this. All right, so then the next thing is the approval of the September minutes. And I'm just asking, for some reason, I could not find those. Did the rest of you get those and I just didn't find them?
They just
Yes.
came
Oh, they just
yesterday.
came. Okay,
Yeah.
that's all right. So let me give you a second for everyone to go ahead and check through your email. I'm going to do that as well. And then we'll open it up for discussion and adoption. So let's take a couple of minutes just to work on that. All right, so if everybody's had enough time to take a look and scroll through those, I'll entertain a motion to adopt the September minutes for PSTEB of 2025, and then we can open up for discussion if there are any changes that need. Sandy?
I'm sorry, I was going to give a change. Sorry.
Okay, can we have a motion to adopt and then we'll open for discussion? Dr. Bolson?
I'll make a motion to adopt, and I had a change also. We'll go with the
Okay,
motion first.
all right, and then we need a second, and then we'll open
Dr.
for
Taylor
discussion.
seconds.
Okay, great. All right, so now we open it up for discussion. Any changes or revisions? Sandy, we'll come back to you.
My name isn't listed as in attendance.
And it should be because you were here?
Yes.
Okay. That change noted. Dr. Bolson?
Same for me. I appear as making a motion later in the minutes, but I'm not in the attended.
Okay, so we can add those.
No big deal.
Same for me.
Okay, and that's Dr. Dyson. All right, any others? All right, so Dr. Bolson, if you'll, I believe you made the motion to adopt. If you could change that to adopt with the current additions that were suggested.
Make a motion to adopt with the amendments that have been suggested.
Great. All right, and a second to adopt with the minutes that have been, the additions that are suggested.
Dr. Taylor seconds.
Thank you. I appreciate that. All right, all in favor for the adoption of the September 2025 PSTEB meeting minutes, signify by saying aye.
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 And a show of hands will work too. All right, are there any opposed? Sandy, your hand is still up. Were you opposed?
No, I'm sorry.
That's all right. Takes a little time to get used to being online, all of us again. No worries. All right. So I'm assuming that all are in favor. No are opposed. Are there any abstentions? All right, then our September minutes are adopted. And who had the hand?
All right, Darren, I was
I'm sorry.
abstaining. I wasn't at that meeting and I cannot find them in my minutes my emails anywhere, but I wasn't at that meeting, so I would abstain anyway.
Okay. All right. So that's one abstention. All right. So the minutes are adopted. All right. So moving on to the next part, we have the communications update. Is there anybody who had anything to offer with that?
Darren, were there any announcements?
Oh, I did skip that. I'm so sorry. Were there any announcements? All right. Thanks for keeping me on track. And for communications update, Ebony and I do have a little bit of an update on the teacher exit survey. But before we do that, does anybody have anything to offer for communications? All right, so I can give you an update on the teacher exit survey. As many of you know, several sessions ago, we had adopted a vote to draft a letter asking that a potential teacher exit survey be created, and that we be given any information based on what the assumptions are for the causes of the exodus of teachers from the profession and the lowering of the number of people who are applying to become teachers. So we did meet last week, and Ebony, feel free to jump in if I get anything wrong and make additions. The people who were in attendance at the meeting, we had Dr. Shockley was there. I was there. Kelly Meadows was in addition was there. Zachary Hans, he's the executive director for the State Board of Education, was there. We had Rachel Armstrong, she's the policy director for the AIB. Libby Diamond, who is the Pillar 2 policy analyst for AIB, was also in attendance. Rachel Hayes was scheduled to be there. She's the executive director for AIB, but there was a pressing issue that came up and she was unable to attend. So anyway, so we met and we discussed basically what our concerns were, why we thought the survey was important. And I think there was a universal agreement on all of those facts, so there was a lot of support. It was also confirmed that an exit survey is in the blueprint. It's in the comprehensive plan of the blueprint for Maryland. So it is something that is required in the blueprint itself. The wording generally was that the exit survey would be created by AIB, and then that would be sent out to each of the IHEs to do, or LEAs rather to do. So there was a sort of a confirmation on that as well. And then we just received an email back from the AIB saying that they were ready to move forward and hold a second meeting. And the suggestion here for the second meeting for the agenda would be review and identification of the purpose and the scope of what the survey should be. There would be a discussion of funding options, including a vendor or an IHE, and also some determinations as to if and when to move forward. And then there was a listing of dates by which we could get together, and a suggestion that we would probably need to bring in some more people for the group as well. So that's currently where we are on that. So I think we made a huge amount of progress in the last week on moving forward on this issue. Ebony, anything else to add?
I just wanted to add that in their response from the AIB, there is a comment to potentially include looking into why administrators leave as well, since we're going to be collecting data. There could be an opportunity to also collect information from that particular subgroup. And so I just wanted to share that one addition, Darren. So thank you for a wonderful summary of the meeting.
Yep, and thanks for the addition. I was very happy to see that too. It was almost like we were going above what we had initially proposed. So that just shows a level of commitment there. So I'm very happy to move forward. And we'll, of course, we'll keep everybody abreast on what happens when we get a date for the second meeting. I know they're extremely busy, so getting a date can be somewhat difficult. So maybe into December or January, but we will be moving forward on it. All right, any questions or comments about that work? All right, is there anything else one more time for a communications update that we did not share? Would someone would like to share? All right, so I'm going to turn to Dr. Keyes again because the next item on our agenda is COMAR 13A 120410, which is other therapists. And just to remind you, you got a transmittal memo and then a copy of the regs as well. So you might want to look through that. So that was in the packet that was sent out earlier. So let me give everybody just a second to fish that out and get us all on the same page. And then Jason, if you can walk us through that, that would be great.
Sure, I'll just give everybody 1 minute just to make sure that they can pull everything up if they need to. Or maybe not a minute, but a few moments. Okay, so there we go. So I'm going to walk you through this. I'm actually just going to kind of talk about this at first, and then I'll actually put up the text of the regulation on the screen. But that text is going to be a lot easier to interpret if I can just talk it out with you first, right? Is all. And so the purpose of this item today is to request permission to publish amendments to our Code of Maryland Regulations 13A.12.04.10, which is entitled Other Therapists. And these amendments today are going to serve to align our COMAR with the federal regulations that allow reciprocity for certain licenses that are either held by military service members or It can acknowledge interstate licensure compacts entered into by Maryland licensing agencies. And so what does this mean to us in this COMAR? So this COMAR, as it stands today, requires individuals working in public schools, state-operated schools, special ed schools to hold the appropriate professional license issued by the relevant Maryland licensing board. That's how it is today. And for in our world, this includes speech language pathologists, occupational therapists, physical therapists, and audiologists. So they need to meet all of these requirements by their respective boards. There's no change there. But the difference is that these licensing boards may, by federal law, they are allowed to participate in interstate compacts that recognize equivalent licenses issued by other states. And some of these are actually required by federal regulations. And so what these amendments to COMAR do is allow our therapists to practice in Maryland schools if they either hold a professional license issued by a Maryland licensing board, as they are today, there's no change there, or a license recognized by that board through an interstate compact reciprocity agreement. Is the long and short of what this is. So I'm going to pull up these regulations on the screen now, just so we can all see them, and you can see the exact text that we're talking about here. And these are not massive changes as we have seen in the past, which is nice. So one moment, please. And Dr. Shockley, I see your hand is up, so I'm trying to share this, but I can listen. I think I can do two things at once.
Or I can wait.
Okay. Yeah, we'll do this first then.
Okay.
All right. Is everyone able to see? Okay, we can see these Code of Maryland regulations here. And I can't necessarily see all of you, so please speak up if you need to. I can see a few of you. So the items here in yellow are the items that we would be adding to this regulation, and any of these bracketed items in red would be removed. And so the way it would look after these amendments would be that the department shall consider, these areas that I talked about before, these occupations, to be professionally licensed if the individual holds one of these two items. So like I mentioned before, a valid license issued by, the state board that governs these occupations as normal today, or this is where we add this bottom yellow line, a valid compact privilege to practice in Maryland under an applicable interstate licensure compact to which the state is a party. As of right now, the only interstate compact that actually exists is, I believe, occupational therapist or physical therapist. I'm going to have to get clarity on that because I've been told both. But there's only one of these that actually exists right now today from an interstate compact. But this does allow us to where if those other occupations and those licensing boards enter into interstate compacts, we don't have to come back and re-look at our COMAR once more. So that is what we were asking for permission to publish. And of course, as normal, this would then go to the Board of Ed. And if they approve it, of course, there's a 15-day look at it, and then it goes to the Maryland Register for 30 days. And then after that, we would be back here asking for permission to publish at that point after looking through public comment. So with that, Dr. Shockley, I see your hand up first. So what questions do you have for me?
You answered my first question, which was which of these therapists have access to or are under an interstate licensure compact, primarily because, as you know, we have NASDAQ and we would really like, or I would like for us to have the interstate compact. I think it would be, for teachers. And so maybe this will move us in that direction. I'm not really sure, hopefully, but thank you for answering. So you believe it's only occupational, right, Jason?
It's either that or there's one other one. So I can get back. I will get back to the group today. I was originally told that, but then I was told that may not be it. So that's
Okay.
you have the most information I have at this point.
Okay, I just wanted to say because we work with speech pathologists and audiologists on MILE, the Maryland Institute for Literacy and Equity, and I'm pretty sure it's not either of those. So I was thinking it might be one of the others. Or I could be wrong altogether. But thank you for that answer, Dr. Keys. We'll look forward to hearing back from you.
Yes, ma'am. Dr. Woodward. Oh, hand is down.
Hand down first. I believe there is something brewing for SLPs. I actually am presenting at the ASHA that's going to be here in a week. So there is some intercompact that's happening amongst them, amongst that group. But my question is, with the increasing number of speech and language, especially practitioners that we are using online or having that are, not actually in the state of Maryland, but many LEAs are having to engage with them because they just don't have the body. What safeguards and guardrails do we have in place, or are we considering in Maryland in order to make sure that we are, meeting the expectations of the federal law, but also ensuring that we are providing our students with practitioners who are not just licensed, but understand Maryland and expectations and guidelines and practices that need to be in place?
Sure. So while I can't answer that in detail, what I can say is this is up to the licensing boards themselves to enter into these compacts, right? These are the Maryland licensing boards. But Sean, you got your hand up, so I'm gonna let you go if you want to answer that.
Oh, I apologize. So I had my hand up previously with regard to the last question. So I can't necessarily answer Nikki's question fully.
Okay.
I wanted to. So if you want to answer that, and then
Yeah, I'll answer that, and then we'll get to you after Amy. Yeah, not a problem. But yeah, so the best answer I have for you at this juncture, right, is that it is up to the Maryland licensing board to agree to go into those compacts. So we trust them, right, to license our Marylanders, right? And so if they're going to enter into an interstate compact, it's on them to do the due diligence, right, to show that whatever is happening in these other states, right, is going to be okay for Marylanders. That's the best answer I have because it defers to them to make all those decisions. So this is just us allowing, that trust fall to happen. Quite frankly, that they're the licensing board, and if they are okay with people practicing in Maryland because of an interstate compact, that we're okay with that as well. Amy, yes.
Yeah, I really don't have a question. I just, want to say I'm appreciative that MSD is proposing this amendment, and it does sound like that it preserves safeguards because licensing boards will retain that authority to review and recognize the equivalent out-of-state licenses. And, working in a school, I can see how this is going to expand access to those qualified providers, which is going to help us reduce gaps in services. So thank you for proposing this amendment.
Thank you so much for the input.
Mhm.
Sean, you did have your hand up. Go ahead.
Yeah, just to circle back to I believe it was Dr. Shockley's question with regard to what does this look like in terms of the interstate compacts for these different professions. So my understanding as of now is that only, as you mentioned, Dr. Keys, only the Board of Physical Therapy Examiners has an effective compact at this time.
Physical therapy. Okay.
Correct. And that is in order to obtain that compact privilege from Maryland's Board of Physical Therapy Examiners, an individual has to hold a valid active license to practice physical therapy in their home state. They have to have no encumbrances on that state license. They have to have no adverse disciplinary action, obviously, against that license or compact privilege within the last 2 years. And they also have to practice physical therapy or limited physical therapy in compliance with Maryland laws and regulations. So it is that the way the Maryland physical therapy interstate physical therapy licensure compact works in Maryland is equivalent. The Board of Physical Therapy Examiners, which is obviously the licensing board, for that profession, does see it as an equivalent privilege with the same legal rights and responsibilities. As to the other categories we're talking about here, for occupational therapists, as of November of this year is the latest update that I have on this. They are not yet for issuing compact privileges to practice in any member state. I think each state's going to open applications at their own pace. And again, a lot of our the respective state licensing boards in Maryland are going to be the ones that are facilitating these compacts if they choose to go that route. But as for audiology and speech language pathology, as of the end of October, they are registering. They've opened registration for licensed practitioners in Louisiana and West Virginia, but that is all I think for that interstate compact. So these are, at least in my view, these seem to be somewhat of works in progress. It seems to be an evolving area, but I do recognize that it seems to be an effective way to, defer to our own state licensing boards for these fields if they choose to enter these compacts and recognize the validity of these, out-of-state professionals as license equivalent, enjoying the same rights and responsibilities as licensees in Maryland. I recognize the logic in giving them kind of a degree of deference in that regard.
And thank you for that clarification. So I don't have to follow up with everybody on an email. It is physical therapists, not occupational therapists. Thank you so much.
All right, in cycling through, I don't see anybody else's hand raised. Is there anybody else who had a question, comment, joy, or concern about this? All right, now I can see everybody. Thank you. All right, well then at this point, if there's no further discussion, I will entertain a motion to adopt COMOR 13A 120410, other therapists for permission to publish.
So moved.
All right, so moved by
Second.
Debbie Hartland and seconded by
Dr. Taylor.
Dr. Taylor. All right, any further discussion? All right, all in favor of the permission to publish 13A 120410 signify by raising your hand either virtually or you can just do a show of hands physically. All right, is there anyone opposed? All right, seeing so no one is opposed. Are there any abstentions? All right, so we have permission to publish 13A 120410 other therapists. All right, thanks everybody. That was a great discussion as well. All right, so moving right along, we are now back to Jason again. So we have a presentation on Grow Your Own Educators Grant that was also sent out, looks like this. You'll see that slide deck, so I'll give you a second for everybody to access that. And I'm assuming, Jason, you'll probably show it to us as you go through. And whenever you're ready.
Yes, sir. And I did send an updated version this morning. The law talks about both 2- and 3-year promissory commitments and whatnot. So I wanted to make sure that you had the exact same slide deck today that we are going to be showing to the superintendents tomorrow at PSAM. So just so you know, you will all be on the same page. Just so I can make sure that we're all good. Can you all see the slideshow that's up right now? Okay. And if I progress forward a slide,
Yeah.
just make sure. Just make sure it's working. If I progress forward, can you see it move forward?
Yes.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay. Well, this is really exciting to talk to you all about. So I'm going to give an update today on the Grow Your Own Educators Grant. And before I jump into this, I just want to get ahead of some questions because there's probably going to be a lot, and I'm probably not going to have a lot of answers today, right? I would really recommend viewing today as a preview, right? My office here at MSDE, we are going to have a full-on grant application out with all of the nitty-gritty details here in the coming weeks, and we are going to be hitting the streets pretty hard in the first quarter of 2026 to spread the word on this. So my goal is that by the time this grant application window closes out, you are so sick of hearing about this. And so I say all of that to say you will probably have a lot of questions that are like detail-oriented questions, like how much can I apply for? How much per student? How much X, Y, and Z? Those sorts of details are being like finalized right now, right? So I don't want to get ahead of what the actual grant application is going to say that's coming out in the coming weeks. So I'm going to be happy to entertain all the questions, but understand that if I defer to a later date, that's not me blowing you off or showing up here unprepared, but rather that this is still a work in progress. Does that make sense? Okay, perfect. But with that, I am really excited to talk to you all about this because this is going to be a huge endeavor for our state. So today I'm going to give you an overview of the Grow Your Own Grant program. I'm going to talk about the national consultant that we've brought on board to help us facilitate this process. And then I'm going to talk about the road ahead and what the next steps are. So a little bit of background about the Grow Your Own Grant program. This was originally established in the 2024 legislative session, but in the 2025 legislative session, the Excellence in Maryland Public Schools Act expanded and actually fully funded this program. And at the highest levels, like the 30,000-foot view of this grant really has two main points to it. The first point is that it directs MSDE to consult with a national nonprofit entity that has successfully guided other state education agencies and/or local education agencies that have increased the number of licensed teachers. So that's the very first part of the grant that it tells us to go do that. MSDE has accomplished that, and I'm going to talk more about that in this presentation. The second part, once you have the consultant on board, is that MSDE shall award a grant to a local school system for employees of the local school system to complete a pathway to teacher licensure. So I'm going to drill down a little bit further and talk about what this means. So the first item, before I even go over any of these bullet points, the first item I really want to draw your attention to is that first bolded word, collaboratives, because it's incredibly important to this endeavor. This is not a grant that an LEA can apply to alone, nor an IHE, nor a union. So in this law, a collaborative, and this is, I put this definition in the updated slide deck that I sent you, so it's in the notes, so you will have this as well, but I'm still going to read it to you. A collaborative means an agreement outlining the commitments of a partnership amongst the following entities. At least one LEA, one local school system, at least one employee organization representing employees of a local school system, so their union, so an LEA, a union, and at least one institution of higher education in the state of Maryland, or if it's going to be a grow your own grant program that does not require enrollment into an IHE, then it can just be the partnership between the union and the LEA. So if they want to do some sort of in-district model where they do all the training in-house, right, that's allowed as well. The point of all of this is going to be a large muscle movement. You are really going to have a collaborative group of people applying in unison, right, as one group. And so let me go further now into the purpose of this grant. Now that we kind of understand what the collaborative is. So the purpose of this grant is to provide support to collaboratives that offer teacher licensure programs with on-the-job experiential learning. That is a focus area of this grant. For individuals who meet these three criteria, number one, they got to be interested in pursuing a career in teaching. Easy enough, right? The second part, and this is very important, they need to be employed by the local school system in the state as a school-based full or part-time employee. So what does this mean? This doesn't mean that we can look at, just students out there and say, hey, we're going to help pay for their tuition and books to get them through a teacher ed program. This is specifically for employees of the local school system, right? Doesn't mean you can't do recruitment efforts to hire people, right? And then develop them as employees. But the point is, this is specifically earmarked for employees of the school system. And they have to fulfill a 3-year service obligation as a teacher employed in a full-time in a high-need school, grade level, or content area. That's the purpose at the highest levels. These last bullets are straight from the law. These have not even been truncated for PowerPoint slides. This is literally what it says. The funds can be used for tuition, books, and fees for teacher candidates, stipends for mentor teachers, and costs associated with the administration of the program. So at the highest level, that is what they can be used for. So what are the requirements? So teacher candidates funded through this grant need to be employed as a non-certified education support professional or a provisional teacher. We call them conditionally licensed teachers, right, in Maryland. So they need to be one of those two categories. They have to have a high school diploma or its equivalent, and they have to commit to pursue a teacher licensure pathway that's approved by MSDE. Now, there are certain items in this law that allows MSDE to further prioritize a grant application. So if your application is postured towards these large strategic initiatives that the state is going after, your grant application will be prioritized above all others. And there are 4 different areas here. So the first one is, does this application show that we are partnering with Maryland IHEs that are offering a lower tuition cost for tuition candidates as part of this program? Another one would be, is it composed of a group of more than one LEA and more than one union if we're using the funds for the registered teacher apprenticeship program? So where would we see this, right? So the Eastern Shore has an Eastern Shore Consortium, for example. They might all decide that, you know what, we operate regionally. We've been on the fence about joining this registered teacher apprenticeship program. Now is the time to pull the trigger on it because there's going to be some funding behind that. So we, as a group, regionally here want to grow and expand teacher apprenticeships and pipelines into the workforce. So we're going to do that. If they do that, in this example, if they were to do that, because it's multiple school systems, multiple unions, they would be prioritized above others who didn't do that. The third one is regardless of whether you're going to work in a consortium like that, like I just mentioned, if the collaborative wants to implement the MSDE sponsored registered teacher apprenticeship program, you'll be further prioritized. I am the point of contact for the state. I am spearheading that charge to recruit LEAs into this endeavor. We have a lot of LEAs who have been flirting with the idea of joining our registered teacher apprenticeship. And so if you are from one of those LEAs or you know of them, this will be the time to jump on board because we can further prioritize your funding, right? If you do that. And finally, if the applicant shows that they are prioritizing the recruitment of men into the program, it will be prioritized. I want to note that you can be prioritized multiple times if you hit multiple items down here. So think about a rubric, right? For each of these bullet points down here that you hit, you would get additional bonus points. So it's not just if you hit one of them, you're prioritized. Each one will further prioritize you above other applications. So it's just something to keep in mind. The national nonprofit consultant requirements that I mentioned earlier about the law. It requires MSDE to consult with a national nonprofit that has successfully helped other state and local education agencies increase their number of licensed teachers by these three areas. So whether it's launching sustainable and cost-effective grow your own teacher prep programs, implementing registered teacher apprenticeships, or teacher residencies. So we had grants. We had a grant application window this summer from August 1st to September 15th. And we awarded that grant on October 10th. We awarded it to the National Center for Grow Your Own. And for those of you who are unfamiliar with the National Center for Grow Your Own, they are leading the country as far as registered teacher apprenticeships and Grow Your Own programs go. They are a nonprofit. They lead technical assistance to state education agencies, state apprenticeship agencies, LEAs, interested in launching or expanding Grow Your Own programs. Their founder originally worked at the Tennessee State Department of Education and was instrumental in lobbying the U.S. Department of Labor to recognize teaching as an apprenticeable occupation. Once he got that across the finish line, he stood up Tennessee's program, which at this point is the largest and arguably the most successful in the country. So to capitalize off of that, to bring the apprenticeship love across the country, he broke away from Tennessee, started this nonprofit here, and it has expanded to 47 active states in this network to include Maryland. So we attend those meetings regularly outside of this whole grant program, but they are phenomenal, and we are really excited to have them on board to really help us make sure that this Grow Your Own grant is just used to the fullest extent possible. So what are the next steps? This is my final slide. When I said this was an overview, this is an overview, right? So the next steps is that our application window is postured to open in the first week of December 2025. And we're going to have all of our grant information posted on our webpage like we always do. There are going to be a lot of informational sessions because there is $19.4 million out there for us to grab. $19.4 million. It's looking like, we're going to see it in the grant application, but it's looking like we're going to have multiple years to spend this money. So it's not just going to be spend $19.4 million in 12 months. It's looking like it's going to be 3 to 4 years from when the grant is awarded. So you're going to have some time to really build something that is not only compliant, but feasible and sustainable, right? And so the big takeaway that I want you all to have from this is, number one, I'm sure you have a million questions and I will field them. That's fine. But I really would hope that everyone goes back and talks to their constituencies about how do we get after this? And because it is a large muscle movement with lots of people involved, this grant application window is most likely going to be open longer than normal. So while it's normally a 45-day grant application window, we are looking for probably a 90-day grant application window to give folks a lot of time to put forth good projects. Is there going to be a cap on how much you can ask for? Is there going to be a cap on how much per student? To be decided. We're still hammering out those fine details, but what I will say for sure, and this is a kind of a no-brainer, but I still want to make sure I put it out there. Just be prepared to justify whatever you ask for, right? So if you're asking for $1 million, better be $1 million program, right? Is really what we're looking for. And so that would be whether there's a cap or not. We're always going to need to justify it, right? But at this point, we want to spend every single penny of this. To me, a victory in this is that we've spent every dime and we're going back to the legislature and asking for another $19 million. So we're going to be talking about this at PSAM tomorrow. This is going to be in everybody's face for the next few months. with all sorts of details, informational sessions, technical assistance. So that is all forthcoming. I am happy to pause here and answer any questions that I can. And I see and I'm sorry, I don't know if I did this wrong before, Darren. So I want to make sure. Are you okay if I call on folks, or do you call on folks
Oh,
for
no,
answering
please.
questions?
No, please go ahead. You call on folks as you see fit. And if you could take us off the slide so we can see everybody, that probably.
Not a problem. Yeah,
And
not a problem.
thank you for a great presentation and a great overview.
I appreciate it. Okay, so I have in order, I have Josh Davidson, and I don't know if everyone's title, so I'm just reading what is on your screen. So apologies if I demote you, but I see Josh Davidson and then Jenny Bischoff and then Kim Moore are the three in order that I have. So Josh, I will start with you.
My title is teacher. So I just had a quick question about the employees that enter into the program. It says that they are required to, once they graduate the program and they're licensed teachers, they have to stay in the school that they're assigned for 3 years. What happens if they don't stay in for 3 years?
So it doesn't say that they have to stay in the same school. It
Okay.
says that they have to pledge to teach in a high needs area, high needs school, something
Okay.
like that. So they are not tied to a specific school.
So if they leave teaching before the 3 years is up, are there penalties? Like, do they have to pay back tuition costs? Like, what happens?
This is one of those items where I'm like, more to come on that. It's a great question, and it's absolutely one we're discussing right now. So with our consultant. So great question, and it will be it'll be addressed. All right, Jenny.
Thank you. So the one thing that kind of caught me off guard was the high school diploma. Because I'm just thinking about, for example, is this for all grade levels? Is this for all content areas? That kind of thing. Because when I think about somebody teaching, for example, high school math, I'm not sure how that looks if they just go through whatever traditional pathway means without getting the equivalent to a degree in math. So, what does high school diploma mean? And does this mean that we would have teachers who are not degreed? And does it also then make it to where going through a traditional teaching program would just almost be discouraged?
No. So
Thank you.
yeah, understand your question. Let me clarify. So the licensure requirements to become a teacher are still the same. But in order for you to fund somebody to go through that teacher prep program, they need a high school diploma to start, not to end, but to start, right? So they got to be employed by you, and they have to have a high school diploma. And at that point, their journey to getting their bachelor's degree and all of the other items that they need for licensure begins. So it doesn't change ed prep from that standpoint.
Got it. And I think then there might be a consideration for bringing in different departments off around a campus, because I see that a lot of the content-based courses would be harder for working teachers to get than our education courses. I mean, we work with everybody to make sure we can get teachers, right? But like a chemistry professor does not care. A computer science professor, they're not going to put that whole, I don't know. Just some thoughts.
No, you are correct, right? And I don't think you have engaged with my office very directly, but I will tell you that that is really the theme when we talk about registered teacher apprenticeships or these other grow your own initiatives, right? You've nailed it. Like, yes, the paradigm. I'm going to use an overused phrase, but the paradigm in some cases it needs to shift, right? And this law is very clear that it wants to drive us to look at how do we do experiential learning on the job? How do we have our IHEs involved? There's a reason that it mandates that they're involved, right? And so what does that look like, right? Right now from MHEC, right? If you look at their regulations, we're allowed to give 45 credit hours for practica or clinical experience outside of grow your own. That's allowed today, right? So you're on the right track is what I'm saying. And so I think that kind of light bulb moment of like, yeah, we're gonna have to really collaborate and think about how we do things a little bit differently, and we're gonna have to pull in other people to come to the table and have an agreement. Yes, yeah, absolutely. You're spot on. You're spot on. All right, Kim Moore, I saw you on next, or was your question
Hi,
answered?
good morning. Yes. So I have a question of my own, but I did have a follow-up question that was based off of Josh's question, but it looks like the same exact question that I wanted to follow up with is in the chat with Leslie. And it was just, I'll just repeat her question since I'm following that up, and then I'll ask my own question. Do the teachers have to, or those who are going through the program, do they have to remain in the same school district? Could they if they start the program and they are going to be committed to 3-year teaching, but then decide to move from one county to another within the state, is that allowed, or do they must stay in the same?
Yeah, the law is silent on that. The law does not mandate that they stay within an LEA.
Okay, great. Thank you. And so my question was, I'm just curious, why is there data to support why specifically the bullet prioritizing men? Was there some data that supported the need to have, I'm assuming this program is all levels like elementary, middle, and high school for any person who wants to do that. So as a high school teacher who sees a lot of men, I'm just curious why are they
Yeah,
prioritizing men?
because I think that your sure. Is there data? There is so much data, right? Yet your anecdotal experience, I will tell you, is not the experience across the state or the profession writ large. That men are grossly underrepresented, and men of color are even more underrepresented in this profession, right? And so, it is a huge endeavor nationwide that we're going after to recruit males into this profession. And so, one of the ways that we can try to incentivize that is through programs like this. So that's great that you're in a high school where you see male teachers all the time, but I will tell you that that experience is not necessarily replicated across the state and across the country.
Yeah, and I mean, I think about, I certainly know in middle and elementary school that there is a lack of men. High school tend to be where most men are. And it's specifically as a social studies teacher, being the only person of color and female, not the only female, but in my department, like we see men all the time. So, I mean, if I had seen that, say, like specifically in elementary ed, then I wouldn't have been curious. I was just more curious because it just said men in general. And so I didn't know if there was some information behind that that gave statistics of why.
No,
Okay,
we
thank
we
you.
we are casting a very wide net, right? And think about this, right? I mean, how many people go through an ed prep program and they may think they're going to be a great high school teacher, and then they get into an elementary classroom when they're student teaching and they say, this is for me, right? And so we want to cast a wide net to encourage all men to come into this profession that want to and are able to, and then they're going to be where they're going to be, right? But I think any recruitment effort into this profession, we should be casting a wide net, right? And so I think wherever we can eliminate roadblocks to anybody coming in, to include just because you don't want to teach elementary, right? You shouldn't come into the profession. I don't think that's the message we want to send. I think it should be that, hey, this we want everybody in this profession that wants to and is capable of doing it well, because we want our kids to have not only the teachers they need but deserve, right? So that's the whole point of this.
Right. Any other questions or comments? Jason, I was wondering if there was any discussion about where this might intersect with anybody who's going for the in-district pathway, because it looks like there might be some crossover here.
Oh
And I
yeah,
realize we only have one LEA that's doing that right now, but I just kind of noticed how it looks like some things do have a crossover or could be a relevancy.
100%, right? So, great question, Darren. A great way to look at all these initiatives. We have in-district pathway, we have programs for conditionally licensed teachers, we have the apprenticeship, right? All of these are just under that grow your own umbrella, right? And so that's the way I look at it. The grow your own can come in a variety of flavors, and that the in-district pathway is yet another flavor of it. So there's a huge amount of intersection. The Venn diagram is probably almost a complete circle, right? Between grow your own and the in-district pathway. So yes, there's a ton of overlap. I would hope that if you are an LEA and you're on the fence about standing up your own district pathway, and the roadblock has been some resourcing, this can get you over the line, right? For some seed money to get that program going. So yeah.
That's great. That's great to hear. And I like the fact that I'm seeing so many initiatives to bring people into the program, but we're also starting to have robust discussions about keeping people in the profession when so many people are leaving and so forth. So I think we're starting to finally hit this at both ends, and that's very encouraging to me as we go forward. All right, let me open up to any more questions or discussion on this overview. And it was a great presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
All right, seeing none, I want to cycle back then to the state board update because I think Hannah has joined us. So if you want to, we were moving a little bit ahead in our agenda. So anyway, I'm glad that you're here. Did you want to add anything or walk us through anything with the state board update?
Good morning. Yes, sorry for being a little late. I am happy to walk us through what the state board covered in our November meeting and give a little preview of what we have coming down the pike for December. So in November, we adopted the COMAR regulations for the induction program. I know that has been a long time in the making. We adopted granted permission to publish. So these are out for public comment, the health framework and COMAR regulations for health programs and grades pre-K through 12. We also granted permission to publish a couple of regulations going out for public comment related to student expression in LEAs, rules for local board meetings, and then we granted permission to republish, to go back out for public comment, our early literacy regulations after our literacy division had further conversations with LEA literacy leaders. The big kind of news breaking item was we got an overview of the updated Maryland report card ratings for 24-25. And then a couple of like finance things that regularly have to come to the board for approval. If an LEA, it authorizes basically the state superintendent to notify the comptroller to withhold a portion of state aid to a local school system that is not in compliance with specific blueprint statute. And then we, even though the federal Department of Education has withdrawn the Blue Ribbon program, Maryland has decided to continue it as a state program. So we celebrated our 2025 Blue Ribbon schools. We had quite a few opinions and orders that the state board considered. I think the most kind of newsworthy one was a book case out of Harford County that we sent back to the local board to ensure that they were following the regulations and that we had released earlier in 2025 based on the 2024, I believe, Freedom to Read Act. So that was November. And then for December, our meeting on the December 9th, we're going to fold in the 25th anniversary of the Judy Center celebration. And in some fashion, we're still outlining how that will look. We're going to have Senator McRae, State Senator McRae. He has written a book about apprenticeships. And so we're going to have him because there is a lot of work happening at the department and across the state on CTE and registered apprenticeships. So we're going to have him kind of as our special guest. We are also going to adopt a statewide CTE and career pathways vision that we have been working with the legislature, the governor's workforce development board, Department of Labor, to kind of bring all of these players together to draft and put out a statewide vision for that. A couple of bigger items, the Accountability Advisory Committee that has been going for, I believe, a couple of years now, if at least over a year. That final report and the recommendations for next steps on kind of the next iteration of Maryland's accountability system, that final report will be presented, and we will, it's information only, but the recommendations obviously are something that will guide the department's work in that area going forward. Something that we're excited about is our data and research team have been hard at work bringing our strategic plan into the department strategic plan into a dashboard that the public and stakeholders can really interact with, and so that it's not just a strategic plan that sometimes can sit on the shelf. We're really trying to make this a living document and something that we can really use to kind of track our progress in real time. Another bigger item is the public charter school funding regulations will be coming for permission to publish. So those will go out for public comment after the board meeting. That has been, as you all know, there are not any funding regulations or much statutory language around charter schools in the state. So our MSD has been working extremely hard to get these regulations into a good place. So those will be coming to the board for permission to adopt. We also have a teacher workforce update from Ms. Meadows, and then our 2026 legislative platform from the state board and the MSDE, which will kind of include both our priorities, but also the departmental bills that we will be pushing this legislative session. We will adopt that platform at the meeting. I believe relative to you all, we will have the paraprofessional assessments. That's an item that we will be adopting. And then library media services, we are going to adopt those. Those are the regulations that are tied to the Freedom to Read Act. And so those will be coming for adoption in our December meeting as well. And then I believe that is, at this moment, that is where our December meeting is at. I'm sure there will be some additions and subtractions, but generally that shall be what the state board closes out 2025 with. So I'm happy to answer any questions as I can. Ebony and then Debbie.
Good morning, Hannah. It's good to, I'm glad I was able to meet you in person.
I know.
So my question for you, first of all, thank you for what you shared. I don't know if you have available a summary of action document for the November meeting from last Tuesday. I saw the September 30th one. I watched the November meeting for as much as I could. But if you have that available, I'm sure the board would appreciate just having that complement to what you articulated verbally. So if you get a chance, we would love that. And if somebody else received it and I'm the only one who did, then.
I don't think, so this is my first day back. I've been out since, so I don't know if I was just wondering, I don't know if it got out. I will send that to Kelly after this, and we can get that to you all. And that'll have all the links and everything if you want to dig in more on any of those items. But thank you for flagging that.
For sure. Thank you for being so efficient and all of your help so much.
Ditto, ditto, ditto. Thank you for all the verbal reports always. That was going to be my thing. I didn't see in November and I didn't see in October and I didn't go back. Was there no October state board meeting?
There was not. So we moved, it was supposed to be October 30th. We moved it to November. So there was no October. So the next one will be December. So I will get the November one to you all after this.
I think we got the September one 3 times. So I was just trying to keep track. Thank you so much, Hannah. Appreciate it.
Of course.
All right. And I see Karen's hand up as well.
Thank you. Yes, I was at the November, well, what was supposed to be October, the November 4th meeting. MABE is taking great interest in the action the state board is taking on local boards, because for anybody that isn't aware, local boards and MABE like local control. That is sort of our mantra. That is in everything we do. And the board is trying to help Somerset County better itself, but we're saying that's kind of up to local boards and the voters and things. So we're going to continue to give input on that. But it was a great meeting. November was, I said it was Frederick County Day. It was also lots of others, but we had a lot of participation that day. So it was a great meeting. Thank you, Hannah, for your very complete and thorough report.
All right, anyone else? Questions, comments? All right, and I echo what Karen said. Thank you, Hannah, for a great report. And also, by the way, you were not running late. I think we were moving at a pretty good clip, so I think we were early. So, but we appreciate you being here, of course.
Yes, I need to get better at my PSTEB timing, because you all are always ahead of me. So I need to just join a little earlier. So thank you for your patience.
Well, I tell you, I sometimes make a joke that as chair, I've never started a meeting on time. So thank God I wasn't starting it today. So anyway, but anyway, appreciate it. All right. So the next thing we have on the agenda is the 2026 meeting calendar that got sent out. And that, of course, is very important because a lot of us have to put in for time for coverage if we're in our classrooms, and everybody else has busy schedules. So you want to know it as quickly as in advance as you can. All right. So if you can take a second and just double check, take a look at those dates and see if there's any complications that you see that would be arising, but we can adopt those. But I'll give you a second to look at them first. All right, Melissa.
I was wondering if it'd be possible to move the July 2nd date. That is the NEA convention or NEARA, as well as being that close to the holidays.
I think that's a great thing to point out. Would you have a suggestion? Do you want to move it to the following week?
Yeah.
All right. And I unfortunately don't have a calendar in front of me. What would be the week after July 2nd? That's what we typically do anyway.
July 9th.
I'm sorry, that's July 9th?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the 2nd is a Tuesday, and that's our graduation week anyway, so I'm behind this request.
Yep, that's great. There are times too when we cancel the meeting in July, so that's sort of sometimes tentative, but it's better just to put it on there just so we have it down. All right, so the suggestion would be to move July 2nd to July 9th. All right, anybody else?
If I can extend that before we move from that date, I think that we often even make that just virtual in general, just so that it can be accessible and because it is between holidays, et cetera. So in addition to moving it to the 9th, I think that that would be an opportunity to make sure we have quorum to make that virtual.
That's a great point. All right, Dr. Dyson.
Yes, I think April 9th is spring break for Frederick County.
That often happens, I think. There are many times where on my spring break, I wind up having to come in virtually. I don't know if that would affect anybody more than just Frederick County.
I believe that 3 other districts have that, and I only know from because of intern placement and trying to check out interns and when they can have a break since they don't get the university break. So I know we have at least 3 other districts that have that.
Right. Well, that's good to know. So let's think. So we would be moving that potentially from the 9th to, I'm looking at my calendar now, that would, if we do the next one out, that would be on the 16th.
Unless we do the 2nd, let me see.
I should do the 2nd, yes. The 2nd would be the first, it's not a full week in April, but it's the first Thursday in April.
Those first 2 weeks, I think, are the toughest because the first week is some counties, the second week is other counties.
That's right.
Like I'm going to be on a cruise that week because that's our counties. So
Sounds like the 16th is a better option so that we are able to yield more people.
Available on the 16th, but don't worry about me. I can probably join, but I'll just be out of the country in 7 hours difference, but I'll do my best to join.
Or maybe this should be an international meeting, just saying. But anyway, sorry.
Yeah, don't hold it up for me. Hold it. And if I'm able to, based on time, and I will be working. I just will be out of the country working. So go for it with the 16th and just note that I'll do my very best.
When is the state board meeting in April? We wouldn't conflict, or would we have to put it on as a virtual meeting?
It'll probably be on a Tuesday.
No, the 16th is a Thursday. Oh, you mean state board meeting?
Right,
Oh,
April
okay.
28th.
Oh, so yeah.
All right, well, if anything, if we would adopt these and there would be a conflict, we can always make changes. We just have to make sure that we publish them in advance and, when we make the changes. But that's good to point out. Dr. Dyson?
Yep, just for Ms. Yoho and I, the June date, we're in the middle of graduations. So we would not be available.
Yeah, June is difficult for a lot of folks. Leslie?
April 9th is the last day of Passover. I am not Jewish, so I don't know how restrictive that might be for people, but I just wanted to flag that as well.
Yeah, I think that's probably another reason to move it potentially to the 16th.
Yeah.
And of course, if we adopt these, Kelly can take a look and just double check through, to see if there's any other conflicts with anybody at MSD. All right, Leslie, did you have anything else? Okay, that's fine. All right, anyone else? All right, so as I hear it, it looks like all of the dates look good with the exception of April 9th, which we would move to April 16th. And then the July 2nd would be moved to July 9th with the notation that that would be a virtual meeting. All right, did I miss anything? All right, obviously, if things come up, we can make changes. Sean, do I need to have a motion to adopt this, or do we just run with it?
I think you can just run with it. It's administrative procedure.
Okay, all right, that sounds good. All right, so we have our 2026 PSTEB meeting calendar, and we can communicate that with Kelly as well, so she can start to post that. All right, so that sounds good with that. Wow, we're moving right along. All right, so the next item is the December agenda. I did hear, and I don't know, we could do this, of course, tentatively, but the teacher workforce update that we usually get from Kelly usually comes sort of in December or January, first part of the year. But that's something that I think probably this board certainly would like to see. So if she's able to present in December, that's great. If not, we can always push that, but we could ask about that if you don't mind touching base, Jason, with her on that. All right, anything else for the December meeting? Dr. Shockley, did you have some items you were thinking either December or in the coming month? I think I saw a couple of emails back and forth between you and Kelly.
I was hoping that this group could benefit from a presentation that some of the entities that have presented to the state board that this group could benefit from, like the Maryland Institute for Literacy and Equity, for example, to just hear about what's happening in school districts and with educator preparation, as well as a USM initiative for conditionally licensed teachers that is forthcoming that I think this group would appreciate. Pazam learned about it in March or April, but there have been updates and this group hasn't learned about it at all. So those are just some thoughts that we may want to have that could be of interest to us.
I think that's a great idea. And these are all just ideas, but we can obviously leave it to the judgment of Kelly as she starts to do scheduling and so forth. Dr. Woodward, you had a hand up as well?
Yes, two things. One, as we are moving towards the General Assembly, I was wondering if there were any legislative priorities that the PSTEB is going to be looking at. I know there are a lot of the MSDE has a few, but I wasn't sure if there are any related to us that we should be considering and thinking through that may, or any of that MSDE is proposing that will impact our work. And so if December to me seems like the right time to bring that up before we enter into legislative session in January. So that was my first one. And then my second one is seeing that we went through the Grow Your Own program today. I happen to know that we're also, MSDE is also engaged in a apprenticeship program as well. And I was unsure if down the line, I'm not sure that December is the right time, but at some point, I think that that would be, because they dovetail in a very different way, but they dovetail, but they're different programming. I think that given our space, we should probably hear about that program as well in the future.
All right, all great ideas. And of course, most of you know, we always get a legislative update once the legislature is in session, but a sort of, I don't know if the right word would be pre-update, but sort of a preview session would be pretty good to have if that's possible. All right, excellent. All right, anyone else? All right, so if Jason, if you wouldn't mind communicating those to Kelly as ideas, and then of course we'll trust her to put together an agenda that meets our needs and meets the needs of other people's meeting times. All right. And I think that brings us, unless I've missed anything, to the end of the meeting. Is there anybody else who had anything to offer for the good of the group?
I just want to chime in quickly. I am actually, this will might be the last time you see me for a few months. I am, or at least for the next month. My son is due to arrive within the next about 2 weeks, so it'll be our second child. So thank you. So I will I don't know yet if it'll be Elliot Schoen or Alan Dunklow who's here, or someone else from my office, but we will have obviously able counsel here to provide good advice. So I'm anticipating that I'll be out for the December meeting. I'm not sure yet whether it'll be, I might attend either the January or February meeting, depending upon when my leave starts and ends, but and then I'll be gone for a few more months after that. So.
Is your other one? How old is your other one?
She is going to be 20 months next week. So.
Oh, so we'll see you with bags under your eyes whenever you return. Is that it? Oh my goodness.
I am going to be very sleep deprived. So if when I come back, if I say something out of left field, please forgive me.
I have a related update. Baby number 3 is due in January, so I will also be here with bags under my eyes. But I'll message Kelly. I haven't even told Kelly, so I will message Kelly and let her know as well. I might be in and out for a few months.
Well, congratulations. That's fantastic. That's
you.
fantastic. And you know, every now and then we do get pictures that get sent out sometimes to the group. So feel free to send out celebratory pictures and Kelly can send them to the group because we love to see that kind of stuff. That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's wonderful news. You had a lot of hearts if you happen to notice those being raised up to you. All right, Ebony.
I think this is someone's last meeting.
It is my last meeting.
I know. So I just wanted to, yes, I just wanted an opportunity to just thank Joy for her dedication and her passion and her leadership in just the educator preparation space. We're thrilled to have you. And so thank you so much for your time and your contributions.
Thank you. No, I've learned a lot and it's been a pleasure meeting all of you. And yeah, it's just been more than I expected, but I really, like I said, have learned a lot. So thank you very much.
And I would echo that too, Joy. We all go back a long time in these meetings and so forth. You've done a great job and always kept us in the right direction. So anyway, we will certainly miss you. And feel free to send updates and things. We always like to see what's going on. So lots of applause for you.
I will. Thank you.
Thank you for all of the things you've done for this group.
Thank you
one
very
more,
much.
sorry. Something else just came to mind. It's just, and then I'm going to be quiet because we're like, and we're almost going to get out early. I wanted to congratulate Dr. Cheryl Dyson and Frederick County Public Schools for having the Teacher of the Year for the state of Maryland. So there's that. That's awesome. My last thing.
That's a great honor as well. Yep. Congratulations. All right.
Carol, can I jump in then also?
Oh, sure. Go ahead.
That was so exciting. And Ebony was there because she was on the panel, but I was there as well. It was so exciting and such a worthwhile teacher. Alana is just, she's got that quality and we're expecting great things. But Dr. Dyson also received another award, and I'm afraid I don't have the title right off, but she and the board president, our board president and vice president and her chief of staff all attended that ceremony. It looked lovely. So lots of awards in Frederick County. We love our superintendent.
Absolutely. I can echo that as well. We're well represented on this board. All right. Anything else? All right. Well, you have a bit of the gift of time because we're getting out a little bit early. So at 10:48, I will adjourn the meeting unless there's any objections. Happy Thanksgiving. I look forward to seeing everybody back here in December. All right. Have a wonderful month ahead. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.